I'm really pleased to welcome back Wright, who's the VP for Public Research and Insight at the leading polling and research agency Savanta, and also Annabelle Dunstan, who is the founder and head of, or managing director of Question Retain. Ollie's going to basically be presenting the very latest up to the minute consumer and company confidence information and some political polling too, to boot. I like to kind of say Savanta is a YouGov you can trust, but that would be politically unwise for me to say that, but I've just said it anyway. And Annabelle is going to give us a summary of the recent Pimento membership survey that we conducted at the back end of last year. Warts and all, independent as always. And then finally, I'm going to share the plans we have for all you members in 2023. So we've got a big program. We looked at the other day, I think it's 193 events across the year, and that doesn't include the events that we co-promote and partner with our friends at the Alliance and BEMA and other organisations. So we're going to get started now. First off is Annabelle. Most of you, as I say, probably know Annabelle. If you're new to Pimento, perhaps you don't, so I'll give her a quick plug. She is a former agency CEO. She's a former TV presenter, a PR, and now researcher, and a body double, which she can tell you about. Her insight and her specialism is actually providing practical advice on the relationship between employees and their agencies, and also between client and agencies. And she also works with a lot of member organisations. A business Question Retain have worked with associations, worked with Pimento now, I think, for 4 years. And the data they provide, both independent and empirical, is really useful when it comes to supporting change programs within your own agencies. So that's what she does, and she does it brilliantly, and it is great to have her with us today. So now I'm going to hand over to you, if I may.
Thanks very much, Stephen. Hi, everybody. I won't go into what being a body double is because I'll need more than the 10 minutes I've been allotted this morning, but if anybody's interested, then do give me a shout. I'm going to share my screen.
Annabelle, sorry, I muted you, not me.
Oh, okay.
Apologies.
Got any of that? Thanks for the introduction, Stephen. I am indeed a body double for a channel swimmer. It's my latest story to talk about, but we've only got 10 minutes today. So I'm going to crack on with giving you the highlights of the 2022. We conducted the membership survey of all members at the back end of last year. You will be saved all the detail because that will be a 53 slide deck, which I've already shared with the leadership team. So I'm going to give you a condensed version, but I'm going to give it warts and all. So do feel free to raise a hand, jump in, ask questions, or come to it at the end. So about 10 minutes coming up, about 13 or 14 slides to share with you. So can I check that you're now seeing the next slide? Great. So what we'll cover, just a quick recap of what we did, sharing the response rates, key findings compared to previous years, and then just some time to have some Q&As with all of you good folk at the end. So am I sharing the right thing? Let me check. Yes, good. So good to know. Open rate, I always love these, 88%, which is fantastic, up from 41%. So clearly there's been a lot more talk about the importance of doing this annual membership survey, and your voices really are heard. So everything you say is taken on board by the team at Pimento. So the more you put into this, the more you're going to get back out of it as members. So we'll send this deck out to you after the presentation today so you can delve into the detail. But it's a very good news story. I work with a lot of membership organisations. Pimento, I would say, from your voices, is in a very good state. And a lot of the work we'll be doing now going forward will be about fine tuning and really upping the ante in one or two areas. So nobody unsubscribed, thank you. We do really want to hear from you. And the figure to focus on, the overall average score for all members was 86%, which for any of you who understand data, I think all of you will know that 86% is a bloody good score. So congratulations to the team. So if we have a look compared to this year to last, green bars on the left denote really good or very happy, through to the red bars on the right, meaning poor or not happy at all. When we do get a not happy at all, of course, this is anonymised. We don't identify who has said not happy, but we can give indications around why that might have come. Happily, there's no unhappies. It's all sitting in this quadrant over here with a combined over 90% very happy. So congrats there on the communication frequency. Some of you here saying, yeah, a bit too much, but my view, it's better to over communicate and you can sort the wheat from the chaff. But I think some fine tuning, a couple of comments. I don't always feel I have the time to read them, so they often back up, but that may just be me. So someone being a bit self-deprecating themselves. Sometimes it feels too much and a bit too generic, and I've not seen any comments about opportunities into the network. So all this granular detail will be picked up on. But on the positive side, there are plenty of emails to communicate what the meetings are each month, so it's easy to keep on top of everything. And the mantra for membership organisations, from my perspective, is always you get out what you put in. So if you do look out for these emails and do turn up for events, you will be benefiting from your membership fee. Regular emails and occasional catch-up calls with my PD calls are fine. So some good levels of satisfaction there. The quality of the comms, of course, great if you're getting enough, but are you getting good stuff? And again, it's sitting in a very good place with 92% saying really good or good. And then average in this 9%, let's look at some of the voices that we're seeing there. Let me just go to my next slide where I've got some comments written. Quality of comms, a lot of automated marketing, repeated invitations. And I think this came up around the conference last year. And of course, the conference is the big showcase event for Pimento. So Stephen and the team really, really do want to see you there. So if there was an overkill on communications, that's probably understandable. But I think for the rest of the comms, there's been some good comments around massively depends on what it is. Some of the comms are rich in content and quality, such as the recession webinar recently that had a highly experienced panel making well-informed and insightful comments. So yeah, some really nice calling out certain events that were communicated around. So yeah, on the whole, in a good place. And again, we've gone from that 3% in 2020 that was saying it was poor. That's dropped away completely in 2022. So what do you most value about the Pimento network? And coming out top, it's increased from last year to 32% saying networking events. So, you know, we've come out of COVID times. There are more events in person happening now. And I think the value of those is really showing through. And the second most valued thing is opportunities to make and receive referrals. And we'll come on to understanding referrals in a mo. But those are the top two things that you value, seemingly. And then a whole smorgasbord of other stuff along here. We've got dedicated partner director to support my business at 7% also. Nearly 1 in 10, I guess, showing interest there. Anything else to say on that? Just look up my thoughts on that. No, I think that's all I wanted to say there. How likely are you to recommend Pimento to your fellow Pimento members? So this is within the clan, and again, really good showing here. 45% saying highly likely, 38%. So again, that's increased in the good stuff here, 36 up to 45. So that's real testament that you trust and value your co-members, and that's what we want to see more of, because that benefits all those referrals within the group. And again, we've moved on from 2020 to 2022 showing no, not likely at all. So heartening to see that. Just interesting to work on this 13% on the recommend to members. All the members I've met are of the right quality. It's a great way to find quality services if I don't have an existing relationship. Pimento offers a strong model for our times. So these are really positive comments. In the negative section, or not negative, but the unsure, we've got a couple of people saying, sometimes it's tricky to recommend someone if I don't know them so well. So I think that's a real shout out for making sure your blog portal is up to place, up to speed, and up to, what's the word I'm looking for? Up to date. That's it. But also to get to know your fellow members. So at those networking events, or just arranging calls through your personal directors, so that you get to know who else is doing what, so you can make those recommends. And then slightly different nuance here. How likely are you to recommend Pimento to other agencies and consultants? And that's been a steady drip feed increase, shifting from the unshores, getting better and better. which in my view is testament again to the strength and quality within the membership, and that Stephen and the team work really hard to make sure that there are only qualified agencies within the group. And it's creating that virtuous circle. If you have recommended someone, they've done good work, and you get that feedback yourself that it was a good referral. So all going in the right direction. So again, congratulations on that. Just got one or two unhappy people here in the not very likely. Let's just see what we've said there. Once I have more experience of the Pimento network, I'll be more likely to be looking for agencies to refer. And what else have we got? I do think that agencies who are at the execution end of the spectrum are more likely to get work than out of those who recommend us to those upstream. So it's a slightly negative view in there. But if you've got any concerns or want to know more about this referral process, then please do speak to your PDs, because they can shape and inform and share best practice with what good can look like. And here we come on to those partner directors. Glowing reports here, all sat in the really good or quite good. And again, if you're in the quite good sector, then make them work harder for you. I personally have got a great relationship with Simon Oldfield. Big shout out for Simon, who bends over backwards to make sure that I get the introductions that I need and want, and similarly puts great people in front of me that I hadn't thought of talking to. So make them work harder for you. They're really well equipped, hugely experienced, and a great asset to the membership. And I would really play that back to your team. You know, you may be on the call, but do others in your agency know the value of Pimento? So share the love, I would say. And again, we've got this one unhappy person, and I think, although it's anonymised, I think from their comments that they weren't particularly actively involved with Pimento and not using their partner director in the way that perhaps these happier people are. So down to you to nurture that relationship as well. It's a two-way street. Do you understand how the Pimento referrals and commissions work? Any nodding of heads on the screen there? Does everyone get it? Because there's 7% of you saying not really or unsure. So a little bit of work to do there. Happily, this 65% will be benefiting from that referrals and commission nirvana. So do make sure, again, you get the briefing you need. I think, Stephen, you're going to be putting on a special spotlight on that. Do you want to comment on that now? No? Okay. Good. Professional services awareness, it's creeping up to 84%. Yes, you're aware. I think, speaking personally again, and some from the anecdotes that we've picked up, there's a lot of inertia about switching suppliers, you know, your accountant, your lawyers, your HR services, but there's a lot more to professional services than those three that I've named. So all the growth advisory stuff that goes on with Pimento. So yes, you may be aware of it, but open your mind perhaps to what you could be benefiting from being from using fellow members in this area. So we've seen a little shift, dropping away from no on the 27 down to 13 this year, and then increasing here. So some work to do, and again, your port of call for that is your personal director, who can give you some introductions. If you're looking to change, even if you're really happy with your existing professional services, can you create a little shake the tree and perhaps look to other influencers who might have some new ideas for you? Set up a meeting. Are you aware of our new business service, Pimento Fuse? Any nodding heads there? Still got 1 in 5 who don't know. I feel like one of those QVC TV presenters suddenly. 71% do know about it, and again, they will be benefiting. So really, again, for you to get the maximum amount of membership, do try and be one of this lot over here. I just wanted to comment on that. What did I want to say? Pimento Fuse. Yeah, I think, yeah, there weren't many comments about that. It was pretty much a yes or no. Policies and practices. So even if you're a small agency, these policies listed in the legend here, from D&I through to B Corp understanding, you need to get your head around these. When your agency is going through growth, then it's very easy for the back end to fall off and actually then not support the good stuff that you're doing at the front end. So spring clean your policies and practices. We've got 25% saying they've got some of the above, and just 2% saying they've got all of the above. So some work to do to to get all the agencies into this area. Privacy and data, 27% saying you've got that at least, and 9% on diversity and inclusion. So you can see there's quite poor policies and procedures. So again, I think that's an opportunity for Pimento to put some spotlights on this and where we can help member agencies who are perhaps lagging in this. But yeah, 25% with some of them, and a shocking quarter do not have any of the above policies in place. So that is my big red siren for today. Any agency leaders on there who haven't got any of these policies in place, I would have a think, because these are the very basics, I would say, particularly the top 4. Attracting new talent, they're going to want to know that you've got those sorted.
On that point, we will be inviting some of our B Core agencies to basically run a session on the benefits, what they've learned through the process, and on the others, which are essentials really. I think we're going to have to suggest that going forward, we kind of mandate membership in the sense that you got to have a view on sustainability. You certainly got to have a view on diversity and inclusion, and obviously all the other good stuff around some of the key areas that you've highlighted. So the Alliance certainly can help there, because they run lots of training in that space. So again, it's not a question of being alone. We can help and support you through getting those sometimes accreditations, but more often not, just having a policy. And we can also share some of the policies that other members have written and prepared, but clearly you have to believe in it. It's no good just to publish them. You have to actually walk the walk.
Also, it supports your new business outreach.
Absolutely, yeah, and it comes up with Paddy all the time. Increasingly, particularly when you're working with procurement, that they absolutely have to have those in place before they'll even consider you.
Good, so I'm glad we asked that. That was a new question for 2022, so we'll keep an eye on that. So down to you. Hard work begins here, but yeah, don't just publish it. Walk the talk. Question 12, we plan to continue our Wednesday 11 a.m. events in 2023, every 2 to 3 weeks. Would you be likely to attend? And happily, 2/3 of you have said yes, and some are unsure. I'm not quite sure why you're unsure, but here they are. And the fact they're being recorded and other times are being set up is responding to comments that were made. So watch those frequent communications. You'll be hearing about more events soon, but great endorsement for the Wednesday 11 a.m. So great to see you here on that. And which topics would you like us to cover? And the same again has come up as one of the top leading ones, is the senior client perspectives. It dropped from 56, but still over 1/3 of you asking for that. It's a no-brainer, I suppose, because you want to network with those people and get the latest thinking and their experience. So great endorsement for those. So the challenge is on. If there are people you want to hear from, suggest them. Again, it's a two-way street. It's not just us saying, or Pimento just saying what we're going to lay on. Tell us what you need and we'll do our best. We've got fantastic contacts. Pimento, I keep saying we, but Pimento have fantastic contacts that can answer your need. Channel view came up at 24%, which was a new response we added in for this year. So yeah, have a think about any of those. If anything jumps out that you want to hear more about, keep in touch and make those suggestions. But yeah, client view and channel view came up tops. Okay, so in brief, the next 2 slides are very dense. You will receive it in the deck, but happily 93% are happy with the frequency of comms, 91% find them good, quality, and networking opportunities remain as the most valued aspect. And then we've got 82% saying they recommend to clients, and 87% recommending to agencies, and a record 98% rating their partner director. So these are all stonking good results. So congratulations to Pimento and to you as members, because it takes you to be part of this membership to get these great results. And again, more detail here, but I won't go into that. I've covered a lot of it. And you will get this deck afterwards. So I really wanted to give up, and I've already gone over my 10, but couple of minutes, just have a quick look at those questions. Do you have any questions? Have we missed anything that you were hoping to hear or see? Is there anything we could do to persuade anyone who didn't respond to respond in future? And do you share the values and benefits you get from being a member with the rest of your leadership or agency team, which I touched on earlier in this presentation? I feel sometimes it just comes through those that attend these calls, but your wider team perhaps do they know the value that Pimento could and should be giving your agency? And then what one thing would you improve your experience of Pimento membership in 2023? So hands up if anybody wants to answer that or take on any of those. If not, then emails after this call to Stephen and the gang would be great, but I'll leave those questions hanging for you. And that is it from me. You all there still?
Brilliant. Okay, well, listen, there will be questions, so I think the best thing to do is to actually either put them in the chat box, and we'll come back to it at the end, or drop me a line. There's some, massively interesting insights there and things that we can do to make your membership even more valuable. And equally too, there's stuff that you can do to actually get more out of it. So as you said, it's a two-way street in that respect. But thank you very much once again, Annabelle. Really very succinct and useful summary of where we are and what we need to do together. Some good comments in the chat box relating to basic policies and procedures, whether they should be the same for independent, smaller organisations or one-man band or one-woman band type agencies. I need to check out the legals around that. I think it's based. Some of it's legal and some of it is you just got to do it anyway. And so you've just got to take a stand on that. But data is an absolute must for everybody. And modern slavery, I think, as Jeremy has just suggested, it actually is only required for businesses with a turnover of 36 million or more. But it doesn't matter if the procurement people ask for it. So you just got to think that through. And it's a policy. It's not a directive in the sense that you don't have to change anything the way you're doing, unless of course you are keeping slaves under your desk and in your office, in which case you must stop that sort of thing. And on the other ones, I think increasingly B Corp is becoming really very important to clients, but we can talk about that offline and do some work on that together. Right, Ollie, I'm going to put you into the centre, into the spotlight. Thank you very much, Annabelle. Ollie, as you know, he heads Savanta's public division, has overall responsibility for client research in central and local government, education, charities and public health, as well as the company's political polling side. And he's also a member of their exec team. Prior to joining Savanta, which is some time ago now, he was MD at leading communications and public policy agency Comres. So always a delight to see you, and we always enjoy the insights that you share with us. And as always, the information that he's sharing today, he's comfortable with you sharing it on with your clients, as long as you credit, obviously, Savanta. And we'll be sending a copy of this presentation out to you afterwards.
Great. Thanks for the intro, Stephen, and hello, everyone. Sounds like there might be some people here who I won't have run through a presentation like this before. I've been sort of coming along at various points over the last couple of years, particularly sort of starting when we were in the midst of COVID and looking at people's kind of confidence and behaviours and all that kind of stuff through that period. So it's great to be back again. I'm going to put this on proper slideshow mode. So yeah, I'm going to spend 10 minutes or so just talking through some of our latest polling when it comes to how the public are feeling about the issues of the day, and also kind of how businesses are faring at the moment and what their outlook is on the year ahead. So first of all, diving straight into the cost of living, which is obviously a huge issue for everybody at the moment. And we've been tracking a few questions on that sort of on a 6-monthly basis since the start of last year. And I think what we can see from the polling that we have done most recently in January this year, so we polled in January last year, then the summer in June, and then January again. The vast majority of adults in the UK say they are worried about the cost of living at the moment, which is a huge proportion of people, just 1 in 5 saying that they aren't worried in at least some way. So I think that sort of sets the benchmark for kind of where sentiment is in the country at the moment. It is such a huge concern for people, and kind of has suddenly risen above the likes of COVID and Brexit and other things which we've seen as big issues in recent times. That impact is probably, I'm sure, felt financially, but it is also impacting people's health as well. So pretty much unchanged through last year and into this year. Of those who say they are worried about the cost of living, which is 80% of people, 2/3 of those saying it's having some negative impact on their mental health, presumably through the worry and anxiety that causes. Looking particularly at sort of the financial implications of the cost of living, we asked in the last 6 months, how difficult or easy has it been for your household to pay essential household costs like utility bills, food, housing costs. And I find this quite a worrying statistics that the majority, just over half, 54% roughly, saying they have had at least some difficulty paying some of these essential costs over the last 6 months, and around 1 in 8 saying that there are real difficulties in doing so. And I think this chimes with some work we've done for the Joseph Rowntree Foundation through last year, and I think we'll be repeating it this spring as well, which shows there are millions, genuinely millions of people who are having to choose between heating and eating through the winter. And I think that reflects the sort of 1 in 8 who've maybe said there that they've found it very difficult to pay for essential household costs. So as well as essential costs, we're seeing consumers cutting back in a range of ways as well. So I realize this slide is quite full. So to explain it very briefly, we asked the question, how often would you say you've done the following specifically to save money during the last 6 months? And the bars reflect people saying they've done these things either often, sometimes, rarely, or never. So at the very top there, we see clear majorities of people saying that they have either often or sometimes cut back on spending on clothes, going on fewer nights out, putting off bigger purchases like cars over TV, fewer day trips, hair and beauty. These are significant proportions of the population saying that they have spent less on these things over the last 6 months or so. So, as well as the population, at least in part, finding it hard to pay essential bills, there are conscious decisions going on here as well in terms of cutting back on things which are maybe less essential. Looking to the future, the outlook doesn't look much better. So we've asked, would you expect your personal financial situation to get better or worse in the next 6 months? Over 2 in 5, 44%, the blue bars there, expect their financial situation to worsen in the next half year. If we look back to a year ago, to the pink bars, that was down at 30%. It did get up to 49% in the summer. That 44 is not too much different from that. So the outlook going into this year for people is much worse than going into last year. And finally, on this topic, and not a particularly cheery stat again, but we have got about 2 in 5 people saying they're worried about losing their job in the next 6 months, which may tie in with the sentiment around financial outlook. But that again is a huge proportion, a huge number, millions of employees who are currently thinking at the moment, I am worried about my job, and 1 in 10 saying they're very worried. So the outlook does look quite bleak for people as we start the year, and I'll come on to kind of how businesses are thinking at the end as well. Before we get on to that, another topic of the day, which has been around for the last few months and very kind of pertinent today with the range of strikes that are going on across the country, including now teachers. Do the public actually support these strikes? And what we're finding is actually overwhelmingly they do. So we asked a very broad question, thinking about when workers take industrial action, which of these is closest to your view? And, in a very broad sense, 3 in 5, nearly 2/3 say they are in principle supportive of workers taking industrial action. 3 in 10 say that they're not particularly supportive of this, but only around 1 in 10 say they're absolutely opposed to workers striking. So strikers have the support of the public, which I think is part of the reason why we're still seeing so many new waves of strike action being launched. They know they've got the support of the public, and particularly then we asked in looking at sort of different groups of workers who are striking over the last few weeks and going ahead as well. That support largely is there for most groups of workers. But particularly so on the left-hand side there for nurses, ambulance drivers, and doctors. So those in the sort of health professions get the greatest levels of support. thinking about today, particularly with teachers on strike, we see that 50% of the population support that, and 3 in 10 say they oppose it. I suppose the lowest level of support comes from the likes of railway workers and civil servants, but even railway workers, there is more support there than opposition in terms of strikes, and railway workers strikes have been going on for some time now, and we've seen the support there dwindle a little bit, but to see the support still ahead of the opposition, I think just shows just generally that level of broad public support for people striking. So I think we can expect more waves of these over the coming months, again, knowing that there is broad support there from the public. And I think this ties into that as well. It's like, where's the blame? It's not with the trade unions, it's not with the nurses. This is particularly asking about nurses, but I think the principle holds across other groups of workers as well. Half of people blame the government. So twice as many people are blaming the government for nurses' strikes than the trade unions, which I think leads on to my next few slides, which I think just demonstrates the level of maybe support and positivity towards the current government. So how is the government seem to be doing? This is not a trick question. I think this is the last time I did a presentation like this. We've had 3 different prime ministers, which is a very unusual state of affairs. And Rishi Sunak is, I think, tomorrow marking his 100th day as prime minister. So he'll not necessarily be pleased to see that over half the population think he's doing a bad job during that time. You often get positive bounces for new prime ministers coming in, and we certainly didn't see that with Liz Truss, and we are not seeing it here either. So, not far off, twice as many people saying he's doing a bad job as a good job. So not a great place to be in at this particular point in time. Ratings generally go down after this point rather than upwards. When he came in, his maiden speech, he talked about 8 policy aims from Tory party manifesto that he promised to deliver on. So he asked, in these 100 days, do you think he's made any progress on these or not? The answer is no. About 1 in 5 people think he has made some progress on all of these things. But very, very clear majority of people are not seeing any progress at all. And in fact, we asked a similar question, and a lot of these things people think are worse since he's come into power. So that all leads into a very unsurprising statistic, given what I've just shown you, that Labour are well ahead in the polls, 46 to 29. That is, I think, that sort of picture fairly consistent across other pollsters as well. Some have even bigger leads than this, showing potential Tory wipeouts at the next election. We don't know when that's going to be yet, at some point next year. But the picture is not looking good for someone who's only 100 days into the job. And then finally, coming on to businesses. So how are we seeing businesses faring? How are they sort of looking ahead to 2023? We've revamped our business tracker a little bit recently. I think it was still focusing quite a lot on sort of COVID and coming out of COVID and that kind of thing. Obviously, there are other pressing issues now as well. They never go away, do they? So what impact would you say each of the following has had on your business so far? So we've picked sort of 5 large issues or challenges that business have faced over the last few years. COVID and Brexit, obviously, are in there, but also the war in Ukraine. The top 2, energy prices, inflation, obviously go hand in hand. But these are the 2 where businesses are saying they're suffering the most. So 80% of businesses have said, around 8 in 10, saying that they're suffering a negative impact in some way from rising energy prices and the inflation rate. That is true across SMEs on the right-hand side of the slide there, as well as larger businesses. But you can see big impacts, bad impacts from COVID, Brexit, even the war in Ukraine, although those 3 are more felt by larger businesses. Ultimately, that is leading to a decline in demand, those negative impacts. So 6 in 10 businesses saying they've seen a decline in demand as a result of the inflation rate and where it is at the moment. But even COVID and Brexit, as for many businesses, is having that kind of impact as well. Again, those impacts have felt more for larger businesses than smaller ones, but the inflationary pressures, I think, are widespread. So what are businesses going to be doing? 2/3 expect to increase their prices, and that is true of SMEs and also larger businesses as well. So you know, inflation's may be leveling off a little bit at the moment. Let's wait to see, but businesses are on the whole expecting to push their prices up this year. And they're also expecting to increase spend. Now, that may be as a result, obviously, of the people they're buying things pushing their prices up as well. But it is interesting to see that spend is seen to, or forecast to be going up. And yes, energy prices at the top there, that's not surprising, and there's no choice in that. But the next two, I think, are interesting, that there is seen to be increased spend across sales and marketing over the next year. I haven't got the numbers on the slide, it was getting very busy, but as you may expect, the larger businesses are more likely to say they're increasing spending on most of these things compared to SMEs. But still, with SMEs, they're more likely to say they're increasing than decreasing spend in most of these areas, including sales and marketing. So looking to the year ahead then, which of the following best describes your views on the future impact of each of these on your business? A major challenge, significant challenge, slight challenge, no challenge. Inflation and energy prices, around 9 in 10 SMEs and larger businesses see at least a slight challenge when it comes to rising prices. And the majority, though, say that they expect a significant challenge from these things. While there are ongoing challenges from the likes of COVID and Brexit as well, more so for larger businesses than smaller ones. But I think it's, you know, for COVID, for example, challenges presented by perhaps, you know, different ways of working, that kind of thing, as we've moved out of that now. But there are ongoing challenges for some of these things, and Brexit is in there as well. Just a couple more slides. So, you know, looking to the year ahead, despite those things, you know, businesses are on the whole likely to think that they're more likely to think they're going to grow than decline. So 4 pie charts there. The columns are large businesses and smaller businesses, and then we asked, in the next 12 months, how do you expect your business and then industry sector to change? Those views are aligned. I think on the whole, people are fairly aligned on how they think their business is going to do alongside the sector they operate in. But large businesses are more optimistic. So, for example, 40% of large businesses say they think they're going to grow this year, 34% no change, 25% decline. When it comes to SMEs, that is a lot more split. So only 32% growing, 34% declining, 31% no change. So almost identical figures there. But at least there is some optimism in terms of you know, large numbers of businesses expecting to grow this year. And finally, and this is more a cheery note to end on, we asked, how confident are you in your business still operating, trading by the end of the next 12 months? On the face of it, this looks quite good. So 80% saying, yes, we are confident that we will at least be trading. However, and this chimes with, you know, similar polling we've done over the last few years, we do see 1 in 5 saying they're not confident. So either not very confident in Pink or not at all confident. And if you add that up into numbers of businesses, number of employees, etc., then obviously that we're talking large numbers there. So, you know, for businesses, I think they're seeing a lot of challenge ahead. For many, I think they can see ways to overcome that, and they're looking to spend in certain areas. But there are groups of businesses who I think are really going to struggle this year, and that comes out in this final slide here. That was all I was going to take you through, but very happy to answer any questions around any of it.
Thanks, Ollie. As Jeremy's just suggested, it's a game of 2 halves so far this session. So I think there's a lot of things that we can take away from that. And I also think there's some huge opportunities, particularly for independent agencies and consultants, because against the backdrop of potential decline and confidence in the UK, nonetheless, clients, brands will be looking for support. And the independent sector has historically always done well in periods of recession or a downturn, because of the flexibility and the cost base that we have. So I would be taking some positives out of that data. I know there's a lot of kind of a backdrop there of negativity and inevitable. That's what people are feeling at the moment. Probably supercharged by, obviously, the wonderful UK press and media in general, and the fact that we're in the middle of a winter and it's bloody cold. So I think there's a lot of that going on. But it's nonetheless right up to the moment. And Ollie, that data was pulled when last week?
At various points in the month, so some of that cost of living data from consumers was earlier in the month. The business data was the latest poll in January, so that was pulled out last week. So yeah, there's very current, up to date.
Yeah, that's brilliant, and I really appreciate that. And I'm sure that it's worth using that data, obviously, to try and, I guess, describe the picture when you're talking to clients. But really, what I do feel is that if clients can adapt to this environment and actually look at the positive opportunities they've got to actually help their customers, and it's all about helping your customers in this period and being useful, then actually I think they can adapt to this environment and actually come out better than those that don't. So we'll be talking about things that you can do as agencies, how you can sharpen your proposition, ways in which you can market yourself in a recessionary downturn. And equally, as you all know, I've launched, and I'll be talking about in a moment, our recessionary support package to help agencies through this period. We certainly don't want to lose any members. We want to find ways in which we can actually ensure that your business actually is robust and strong, and we can take those learnings also from COVID. Okay, we're now going to turn our attention to how we're responding to both Annabelle's feedback today and also to Ollie's. I'm going to make a very short presentation, shorter than normal, but we will share these slides with you afterwards. If you can go full screen on that, please, Teresa, that'd be wonderful. And then I'll do the talking if you can actually move the slides on. So let's start by just first of all reminding ourselves why we're here and what we're trying to do. I'm going to talk a little bit about the 4 key areas really where we can support your business this year. One is clearly in business development, generating more referrals for you and more business and helping agency growth. Secondly, as I just mentioned, helping you and supporting you in this period of recession. Whilst that's not apparent at the moment, I do think there's a kind of slight delay in the UK market at the moment. Obviously, the data is suggesting we're sort of still bobbling along the bottom. But nonetheless, the suspicion is that a lot of pent-up demand is due to the cash that was saved during COVID, and yet actually consumers will start to change their habits. Indeed, they have already changed their habits by the looks of it in a number of areas. The third key area we're talking about is soft education and insight. So sorts of sessions today that we've seen. Thank you guys once again. And then hopefully we could have some entertainment and fun. So 4 key areas really where Pimento believes it can support you this year. Next slide, please. The critical and number one objective, I guess, for our businesses at this moment are to increase business opportunities right across the whole network and build on what we achieved last year. We've set ourselves the target of actually increasing the number of referrals between members and the number of inbound leads by 50% this year, and that would equate to £15 million worth of new business. So it's a big old target, but it's not impossible. Our plan is particularly focused on trying to double the number of member-to-member referrals across the network. Now, it's a two-way street. We've said it a number of times. We award, as you know, stars, so the 4-star rating, which goes to 5-star. We award the difference between those 2 ratings based upon not just the referrals you receive, but equally as agencies and consultants, the referrals that you put back into the network. So when you think a little bit about your own marketing requirements, your own spend in marketing services, please do try and keep referring back into the network. Give the members with the network an opportunity at least to actually put a proposal together for whatever needs you have or whatever needs your clients have. And very simply, if each of you made 3 successful referrals a year, it would double the revenue for members in the network. So it's not a difficult ask. So just think about 3 positive referrals that turn into business for other members would generate would double the amount of revenue that's coming in. The other big challenge I think we all face is that, despite the fact that last year we generated £6-7 million worth of new business, the win rates were not as high as they should be. Typically, good agencies reckon they can probably achieve a win rate of something like 65% against when they're having to pitch. Clearly, what we try to do is avoid pitches where we can because they're expensive and they take time. And obviously, the fact that people come to Pimento, generally speaking, is because they trust our judgment, and therefore we try to avoid pitches as we can and just do direct referrals. But if you do have to pitch, we need to get our win rate up, which is around about 30% up to the agency standard normal 65%. And the way they'll be doing that is basically, again, giving you support on your pitches, offering to review your pitches. If you need procurement support, we've got experts that can help you within the network. Equally too, we'll be filling gaps in our lineup, and if necessary, upgrading our partners in areas of weakness. So for us, it's a two-way thing. We don't actually benefit unless we win, and therefore it's great that we can give opportunities, but we've got to win them together. The other thing we'll be doing is asking you all to audit and maximise your exposure on the portal. If you're not up to date with your portal presence, it really does limit your exposure to other members. So if other members are going on there seeking help with X or Y, they're not going to find you unless you've kept your portal up to date. Now we've invested in a new head, and we brought Leon in to help you in that space, so please do utilise his help. Make sure that all your latest information, case histories, biogs, make sure you've got the right team on there. And it's amazing how many agencies have got people who are on their portals who are no longer in their agencies. So please do take the opportunity to do that, and if you could do that over the next few weeks, it will really enhance your opportunity to be visible to other members, and also for clients. Because how it works at the moment is if a brief comes in, we as PDs will reference the portal first of all to see who we've got in that space. We'll then talk amongst ourselves, and then if it's a shortlist that's required, put together a shortlist, and then we'll then contact you as agencies to make sure A, you've got capacity, and B, you're happy to work in that particular sector or with that particular client before putting you forward. So if it's not up to date, we're not going to find you. The other thing I would ask you to do is also to update your little PDFs. So when you joined, you were asked to produce a little 2-page PDF on this is us, this is what we do, this is who we do it for, and then how to connect with you. Those are really useful, and we use those as a calling card when we introduce you to new members. And on that point, if you do receive an introduction from a PD, please do respond. It's just poor manners not to respond. If you are introducing you, we're introducing you for a reason. We're not looking to waste your time. We're not going to inundate you with lots of them. We're introducing you because we think they can add value to their business, your business, and equally too, we think that actually by introducing them to you, you're going to benefit and actually hopefully drive some new business for yourselves. So that's the call out on that one. Next slide, please. And I'm going to canter through this stuff, so I apologise for the speed. Driving awareness. Our job is basically obviously to continue to drive awareness of our proposition. The Pimento proposition is still unique. There are no other agencies, to the best of our knowledge, out there doing what we do that offer the opportunities for clients to have highly bespoke marketing services, the opportunity to have agencies orientate themselves around their exact requirements. This is a new and a unique proposition, and continues to be so. So we'll be doing that through a series of outbound activities, and we'll also be basically pushing it through some of the marketing activities you're fully aware of already. For example, our Pimento podcasts, our 6 weekly deep dive into a particular category or a particular marketing discipline, inviting you to actually contribute towards the white papers that we produce in those spaces. Then obviously we'll then be promoting those on social media. We email around about 14,000 potential client contacts a month, and obviously try and drive downloads of those white papers to increase engagement. We're also going to make it easier to buy us. So we'll be talking about some of the initiatives that we actually have. You're aware of perhaps our new consultancy offer, the Pimento Agitators. That's already showing great dividends. So far, I think we've got 5 projects on the go. We've got a new one to share with you today, which is very exciting. And that's focused on our digital proposition and digital offer. And as consultants and people who are involved in areas outside of digital and outside of consultancy, you really need to think of these opportunities as actually having an extra 30 or 40 new business people who are actively out there looking to actually engage with the clients, unearthing new business opportunities, which everyone will benefit when it comes to the actual executional side of their briefs. We're also looking to kind of get closer with the intermediaries, and we've got good relationships with people like the AR, with Oyster Catchers, Andrew Block and others. We're working closely with associations like Beamer and the Alliance, but we feel there's more we can do in that space. Next chart, please. So for those that don't know the Agitators, a very quick reminder, we've unearthed 35 multidiscipline consultants that sit within Pimento already, and what we've done is to basically package their talents into a proposition whereby we are going to existing clients and cold clients and offering a 2-hour workshop to identify a growth challenge or problem they have as a business. We then put together, again, a bespoke team around that needs based upon their challenge, and then offer them a 2 to 3 hour workshop. This is working well. It's already led to opportunities, and we're getting briefs as a result of this, and clients are open, particularly at the moment, obviously, when they're facing all sorts of recessionary challenges, to this approach. So that's going well, and we're going to continue with that. And the outbound campaigns are going to about 100 clients per month. And we're also talking to about 60 existing clients that we worked with in the past in other areas, not necessarily in consulting. And Simon's leading that one, so if you want any more information on that, please do. You would have received an email from him in the last week about engaging around this with your existing clients and offering them this service. Please be absolutely assured this will always be done in conjunction with you. It's a way to embed and deepen your existing client relationships. It's not designed to unseat anything. It's about actually helping. And in fact, the first job that we did, the client had actually, the client we were introduced to through another Pimento member, the Pimento member had been let go by that client, and then through the work that we've unearthed, they've been re-engaged. So there you go. That's our next slide, please. That's some of the comms. If you go to the Pimento website, you can see the agitator landing page, and there's a short, curated, simple 2-pager on the proposition, which I think you've all got because it was attached to Simon's email last week. Next chart, please. So, our second collective, if you like, this is very much a working title for now. Our Transformers initiative is really designed to recognise that really since COVID there's been a massive acceleration in digital transformation, not just with big businesses. Most medium-sized and SMEs are now recognising the need to evolve their digital presence and their digital transformation. If we look at the sorts of clients we have with Pimento, the client base is evolving and changing. The larger multinational organisations are very well served by the likes of Accenture and Capgemini and EY, but we really do believe there's an opportunity in the mid-caps and smaller businesses for us to actually put together a proposition in this space. We did an analysis of the Pimento network, and obviously we have fantastic digital practitioners who offer an ever larger array of specialist skills. Some 29 agencies and consultants, from the largest like CDS and CI and T, which is the new name for SOMO, down to the very smallest consultancies. And what we're looking to do is kind of pull all those resources into one proposition that we can go to client to actually help them on digital transformation. The digital marketeers amongst us, that's very much a stage 2 part of the proposition. So for now we're focusing on build agencies, SEO agencies, CX agencies, people who can basically, and consultants who can come in, identify problems with clients' data stacks and start to work together to work out how we can actually help them unearth growth opportunities through digital transformation. Next slide, please. Okay, when we look at what that means for us, at the moment we're working on developing a really clear proposition. We're obviously going to be looking deep into our database and put together a hit list targeting CTOs, chief executives, MDs of medium-sized organisations that we either already have a relationship or are new to us. And then thereafter, we're then putting together a channel marketing plan to get out there and start to market this proposition in the same way as we have with agitators. We've got loads of data, fortunately, and lots of information in this space. And equally too, like with the agitators, I strongly suspect that you've got clients who would benefit from this proposition. Next slide, please. The next steps for our Transformers proposition is I'll be inviting agencies and consultants to join us in this space, and we'll be forming a task force. I've invited Vinny Hayes, who was the former Chief Commercial Officer at SOMO and now the founding partner of Maverick Planets, to head up this proposition and to help us basically pull this together in something that we can actually put in front of clients. He's got loads of experience, having done that for many years for SOMO, and so I'm very excited that he's going to be giving us his support and guidance on this particular project. And I think the intent is that we will have, we'll be in a position to be able to go live at the end of Q1. So that's where we are with that. Vinny, I'll have to jump ahead if you don't mind, because I'm going to run out of time, but I know you wanted to say a few words. So do you want to jump in now and say something, or are you happy?
No, crack on, Stephen.
Super, thank you for that, sir. Next slide. Okay, For all your younger members, this is for you. And this is not just differentiation by age, because that would be ageist, wouldn't it? It's a differentiation by attitude. But nonetheless, the Pimento network is well populated by people who are fairly mature and have been in the industry for some years. We're super keen to basically help and support the growth of new agencies, particularly in spaces like AI and design and etc. etc. So what we'll be doing is shining a light on the emerging new agencies and talent within the network, so that they can learn and grow together. We're also super keen to be able to connect with younger members that sit within your agencies who are your future leaders. Pimento tends to talk to owners of organisations. We need to identify and work with those people who are coming through, who are joining your senior leadership team, who would be excited to get involved in this group. And the intent is that we will launch this over the next few weeks with a core group of around about 10 existing members, and then build out so that every agency is represented in our Club 30 group. By the end of Q1, we hope to establish a series of events and activities that will run right across the year. Leon is going to be heading this up, and as I say, he'll be seeking from the owners, MDs, CEOs of agencies we work with, at least one person from each of your agencies that could represent you at these sessions. We've lined up some fantastic speakers to come and do some work with them, as well as some great nights out. And this is obviously the future. We need to basically be helping co-create new agencies, new structures, new ways of working. So I'm really excited by that. Next slide is just a summary of what I've just said, I think. And then let's go on to slide number 11, recessionary support. One of the reasons you all joined Pimento was because of COVID and the support we gave you there. We're going to be continuing that throughout the recession. We pulled together a really super team on growth advisory, people management, recruitment, investment and personal finance, process financial management and business finance, business development, office space reduction costs, legal support, and indie support in general from the Alliance. The idea is this team, if you go to the next slide, will be providing both a resource and services that we can lean into and ask them for help. There's going to be a recessionary support hotline that we've set up already, so if you want to confidentially say, look, I'm having problems with this or that, or can somebody help me, just drop us an email. That will go to me and I will confidentially point you in the right direction. We've got support packs that are being written and will be published and shared with you. We've got events. Our first event is in about a week's time. In fact, it is next week. This time next week, we'll be looking at actually talent in particular. So again, if there's anything that's missing from the package we're putting together or the additional support you need, would you let us know? I'm conscious it's now midday. Would you like me to stop now, or shall I carry on for those people that can carry on? Okay. How many people we got with us still? Okay, we've got 47. I'm going to keep going. I'll be really quick, I promise. Okay, beyond recessionary support, if we go on to events, slide 13, please, Teresa. Actually, slide 14. Let's jump straight to slide 14. Okay, well, we've got a stack of events, 193 at last count arranged for this year. They broadly break down into the areas that you can see above. Our 6 p.m. clubs, which are super well appreciated. I mean, everybody basically said they want to get back together and get face to face. Those are happening right across the UK, Sheffield, London, Leeds, Manchester, and London again. Those are happening right across the year. The first one is in February. All of our events can be found on the back of the Pimento portal. You can register there, so do take the chance to have a look. We're reintroducing the 5 p.m. clubs. So a number of people said, look, I love going live, but I can't get to them, childcare issues or whatever it happens to be. So we'll be doing our speed networking events, which we did through COVID, again, supporting the 6 p.m. clubs. The conference, I haven't got a date for it yet. We are working up the proposition for that with our friends at the Alliance and Agency Nomics. We'll be back to you as soon as we've got a date, but it's going to be sometime in September. And will evolve from where we were last year, and we're looking at basically both the format of it. BD Club, really well attended. We get 60, 70 people on each of those calls. Hot topics, get your BDs there. It doesn't have to be you. Anyone responsible for business development in your agency or consultancy, they should be on those calls each month. Marketing Spice, which is our client events, looking to get more senior clients involved this year. Next slide, please. And then beyond that, we've got lots of other activities. So those include recessionary support, which we've just been talking about, agency updates, which is what we're doing today. I'll carry on doing those across the year. Club 30, which we just announced. Netwalking, everyone loves the netwalking, particularly when it ends up in a pub. We've got lots of those events, very, very casual, fun events to meet people in a very nice environment. We've also got Pimento agitators are organising their own events across the year. Leadership dinners, we run those every 4 months. And then on the entertainment side, we've got numerous golfing events, classic car events, racing, etc., etc. So lots of good stuff. Clearly, a big focus is on driving new business, but equally, we've got to remember we are a community. If you skip the next slide and go to slide 17, please. This is the last and final slide, and I'll let you all go. What do we need from you? Basically, support, member referrals. Please, 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 think Pimento. But very often it's not necessarily you that is outsourcing. It'll be people that work with you. So we need to know who those people are. They need to be aware of our offer. They need to have access to the portal so that they can utilise it when actually looking for resources. Give us your feedback. It's nice to have an annual event like we've just done in terms of the tracking, but actually constant feedback, what we're doing well, what we're not doing as well as we might. Please update your portals. Please update 2-page PDFs. Review your partner plan at least twice a year with your PD. Insist on sitting down with them, updating your partner plan. Loads of new members joining us. Some great new talent, opportunities for you to grow and enlarge your network. Engage, lean forward. Doesn't always have to be you. Somebody else can do in certain events, but please do come along. If you're not there, we won't do these things, and therefore, it clearly isn't being valued, or you're so busy, in which case, give some of that business to us, because there's only so much business you can have and hold. Respond to PD introductions, complete your referral forms on time. Those are mandatory. We can't pay people who've gotten referrals to you unless you actually complete a referral form. We're now trying to automate that as much as we can and make it easier for you, and Leon's doing a great job there. Introduce new talent to Pimento in areas where we're looking for new members. The PDs can tell you where we're looking for talent. And finally, do, as I say, give us your continued feedback. And that was it. If you can take that off screen now, that would be great. Thank you to 38 people who have survived this far. Really, really appreciate it. We'll send you copies of all of this. I went through that very rapidly, but great session. It's now 4 minutes past 12 and we just about got there. So thank you once again to Oliver. Thank you very, very much to Annabelle, and more importantly, thank you all of you for attending today. Copies of this session will go out, and Vinny, I will ensure that we get the opportunity for you to speak directly to our new transformers, and if anyone can come up with a better term than transformers, then do let me know. Okay, have a great day everybody, and thanks for your time. Cheers, bye bye.